What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD mode interview where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate agents, and just straight up top badasses. You guys are out there dominating their spaces. You're people that are choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create great, massive lives for themselves and for their families. So today, guys, we got an absolute rock star on the show today, a guy that I've wanted on here for a while. I've been watching this guy. He's doing amazing things in this space, not just the real estate space, but in all aspects of life and business. One of the top real estate agents on the planet, now one of the top coaches in that space as well. So really stoked and honored to have Lars HendenBorg on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How you doing, brother?
Doing awesome, man. Excited to have you on, dude.
Yeah, me too. I've been excited about this since we scheduled it, so it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So, before we get into what you're doing today, man, because I know you run a massively successful real estate team, and now you're out there training and coaching real estate agents all over the planet on how to duplicate that. But I'm always interested in the journey that led our guests to entrepreneurship in the first place. So rewind the clock. So whether that's like junior high, high school, college, what led you into becoming an entrepreneur, then eventually the real estate path?
Yeah, I mean it's funny when I look back on my journey. I mean, I was kind of wrapped up in the rat race. I graduated undergrad engineering degree and sort of worked for probably only a year and a half working for this old guy that was counting light bulbs in his mid-50s, and I was like, dude, there's no way I could be that guy. And so that from there I went to Wall Street, and I ended up just seeing what that grind was all about. I doubled my income with the move over. I took home a check for 50 grand of bonus on Wall Street, and I knew a guy who took home a 7-figure bonus check, and guy had no life. He was probably 150 pounds overweight, 24/7 in the office. I'm like, I'm not going to be that dude. And then I went to a cool corporate job. So I actually did acquisitions and finance for an aerospace company. I traveled like 250,000 miles in a year. I visited 20 plus different countries and looked at 200 companies and like really cool stuff, multiple 6-figure income. And I worked for a guy that just when he was starting to make some money, bank some coin, found out that he had terminal cancer. And he was like not even 70 years old and just bought his retirement house in Hilton Head. And after giving 35 years to his company, it's like, fuck if I'm going to be that guy, So it was really all those steps that kind of led me into, I'm going to do something on my own. I'm not going to spend 30 years in a company. And just because I put in my time, I get to earn the right to make some decent money. So that's kind of what led me down the path. I was an investor at the time. I purchased some homes in New Jersey at the right time, doubled my money, moved to Charlotte for a corporate transfer, and got involved in real estate investing. I just hooked up with a broker who was a really good sales guy, and it was around this time where this guy George, the corporate guy, that kind of terminal cancer guy, and he hit me at the right time. He said, "Have you ever thought about a career in real estate?" And I hadn't, and I'd never had any sales experience whatsoever, but I knew I wanted to make my own way, and I just saw the real estate industry as being a really a kind of broken industry, and there wasn't a lot of respect for real estate agents. And he was a standout. I mean, just a really solid guy. And you probably have more questions, but I saw the way he did his business, and he was a traditional broker that wasn't making any money, that had to work with clients himself to make money. And I was like, within 9 months of working for him, I was like, I'm not going to be that guy. So as all these, when I look back, I only now see the path that God put me on. To see like, I'm not going to be that guy, not going to be that guy, not going to be that guy, not. And it started way back with my dad, who was an alcoholic, and I'm like, I'm not going to be that dude. I failed his family, and just a bunch of series of just seeing what I didn't want to be, and then like I know I can take advantage of this industry, and because we're overpaid in general, I believe that. But I can kind of break up the job and still have enough money left over to sort of run a team and run a true business. So that's kind of the journey in a nutshell. And now, I mean, I love the business side of it. I mean, I care less about the client than I do about building a business. So I am a true entrepreneur through and through.
Yeah, I love it, man. So when you were making that transition from the corporate world into real estate, because here you are, you got like the dream job for most people in that you're making multiple 6 figures, probably a lot of great benefits. that also comes with probably a lot of internal fear. A lot of people have that fear of switching from the corporate world to the unknown of entrepreneurship. And then a lot of times, they're getting a lot of negative feedback from their family and their closest friends of like, dude, were you crazy? Like what was going on internally when that happened? And at what point did you just decide, man, I'm going to make this plunge?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I look back on it. It probably was a year in the making because I had the interest in homes. I mean, I just kind of liked real estate, and I had already owned real estate in Charlotte at the time. So I sort of knew I liked real estate. I don't think I knew what I was signing up for when I left my corporate job and became a real estate agent. Like I didn't have this grand plan to start a team until I got into it. I'm like, there's no way I can work with buyers. And then I'm like, there's no way I can work with sellers. But the fear part of it was, I knew I wasn't going to put in 30 years in a corporate environment. Like I knew I would go crazy doing it. So it was more of a, I didn't want to, this was the best job I could possibly have in corporate America. And I was dead inside. I was like doing high level strategy within my company and acquisitions and travel and first class and corporate expense accounts. I mean, like the whole deal, stock options and all of it. And I'm like, this is, it was just too painful. I mean, it took me that long to realize an entrepreneur, and it just took me long to realize that. So there wasn't an option. Like I was going to do something anyway, I just couldn't, I was just being suffocated in a corporate environment.
So you make the switch. What year did you make the switch into real estate?
So I got licensed in the middle of 2006, but I left my corporate job in kind of like March, April 2007.
Okay, so you leave 2007. I don't know what the market was like there at that point, but that's like right when it starts to tank, right? So not only do you not become a statistic like the 90% that fell in the first 3 years, you also, amongst one of the worst real estate markets we've ever seen, were able to build a business. So walk us through that, man. What were those first couple years like as a new agent to ensure that you weren't a statistic, also in probably the worst real estate market we've ever seen?
Yeah, and I think, it's all looking back, and just our market here in Charlotte started to turn. Like June 2007 is when inventory basically straight line shot up, and only really everybody kind of recognized it when the end of 2008 when the financial crisis hit. So it was I got married in 2006. So October 2006, we had Anders, my son, November 2007. So my wife is pregnant when I'm leaving my corporate job. And so in that first 6 months, I've got a newborn. And it was really just knowing what I had given up, and everyone was doubting the whole thing. Like, how could you possibly leave? Because I left on the best terms. I mean, the guy who's the chairman of this multi-billion-dollar public company now was the guy I was super tight with. So if I wanted to ride that train, I could have. And everyone was like, "What are you doing, dude?" So it was just, I was willing to do what other people weren't willing to do. That's the bottom line. I was willing to do whatever it took to be successful. I knew I learned I wasn't going to stand behind a phone and dial. So that was the number one thing. I kind of knew that I wasn't going to be that phone ninja, that phone warrior kind of person. So I knew I had to become really good at marketing. And at that time, everything was going to shit. So it wasn't hard to craft marketing messages around distressed sales. I mean, I was mainly focused on buyers those first, really a solid 2.5 years, 2007, 8, and 9. It was all buyers. And I was just putting little ads in newspapers and on Craigslist that there are really good deals out there right now, and give me your contact information and I'll make sure I hook you up with the good deals. And just being relentless and just religious about my time blocks. I mean, I knew that a good part of what my week looked like had to be dedicated to new business development. And I think that's where a lot of people get into real estate with, I like showing homes and I like people, and that's not the business. It is not the business. It's just like starting up any other business, where if you focus on, designing a business card or designing a website before you actually have people that are buying the stuff you're selling, you're dead in the water. So I think it was just an awareness that I wasn't going to pick up the phone. I didn't like that. I had to become an expert marketer. I read everything Dan Kennedy put out. So direct response marketing and just everything around USPs and call to action and ugly ads and everything I could consume around Dan Kennedy was kind of where I was at. And then I knew that it was E-Myth. E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber's book, was the book that, it was like the first business book I think I ever read in terms of my entrepreneurial career. And just realizing that I was in the technician role, but I had to become a manager and entrepreneur in order to kind of get out of the grind. So it was focusing on one thing, the one thing I committed to. It was not my database. It was not people who knew me. It was just generating a lead and time blocking to just that activity of picking up the phone and getting really good at converting people over the phone and making really good offers to people over the phone so they would be motivated to meet with me.
Yep, love it. And those will be things that we'll get into really deep here shortly. But I'm also curious at what point your team started, right? Because so many agents make this mistake, at least in my opinion, of starting a team out of want, not out of necessity. They're like doing 12 dealers a year and they're like, oh shit, I'm going to hire a buyer's agent. Like at what point was it where you're like, crap, I need to have a team? Maybe you wanted to have a team, but at what point did you start hiring?
Yeah, it's funny now being on the other side of it where I'm trying to help people do what I did. It's the same point. Like people are hiring inside salespeople and they're doing like 10 deals a year. I'm like, well, you are the inside sales department. You're the outside sales department. You're the marketing department. You're the operator. Like, what are you doing? So I think for me, it was in a Dan Kennedy book, No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. The second edition has since come out. Where I went through a simple exercise that changed everything for me. It wasn't so much what I was making at the time for my hourly wage, but it was like, if I'm going to do this and go out on my own, like I wanted to make $500,000 a year net, and I wanted to spend 2,000 hours doing it. So I literally did this, divided 500,000 by 2,000 hours. I'm like, everything I touch has to be worth $250 an hour. And real quickly, I was busy. In that first 9 months, I sold 27 homes with no assistant. And I realized that 20 to 30 hours a week is spent on $12 to $15 an hour work. And the admin hire in February 2008 was my first hire. She started part-time. In 2 weeks, she's like, I got to be full-time in order to do this. She was 7 days a week, really got the vision, probably worked 50 hours a week. And the two of us ran with it until September 2009 is when I hired my first buyer's agent. So for a good two and a half years, it was just me and an assistant. And in that 2008, I sold 45 homes with me and an assistant, and then 60. And I brought a buyer's agent on, which kind of started the team into 2010. So 2010 is really the first year that I had multiple outside sales associates on the team.
So then give us an idea of what your team looks like a day, because I think you're doing something crazy like a house a day, right? So give us an idea of what your structure looks like today.
Yeah, so the one thing when I started a team, and I think the biggest thing that is a miss in everyone starting to sort of get on the bandwagon with teams is like agent productivity. So there are no standards, there are no policies, there are no systems, there is no training. The foundation of teams is non-existent. I just made a commitment that I want agents that are going to sell 40 to 50 homes each per year, and I didn't want to do production. And I had to make the value proposition so awesome to join my team. My listing agents will do 25 to 28 million of volume each, with 85% of their production coming from the team. And that's in a market where our average price point is like 240, 250. So they're each doing about 100 deals, and it's coming from the team. So we set appointments, we prep appointments for them. So, and on the buy side, my buyer's agents are doing 10 to 12 to 15 million. We've got inside salespeople now. We've got only one inside salesperson on the buy side and one appointment setter, we call her, on the listing side, because it's still a marketing approach. There's not a lot of outbound prospecting that we do. So we're only looking at about 4 buyer's agents and 4. We just picked up a new one. So 4 or 5 buyer's agents and 2 full-time listing agents. So we're doing 110 million of volume with just a highly productive approach. So it's not 20 agents to sell 100 million like a lot of teams. It's a lean approach.
Yep, I love it, man. So at what point, because I also see a lot of team leaders making the mistake out of jumping out of production too early. Right? They don't account, for example, to build in what their true business expenses are, what their salary is, things like that. When did you know it was time to step out of production? Did you do it the right way or did you do it the wrong way and had to learn from it?
I definitely, and I've heard horror stories about people trying to do it 2 or 3 times. I didn't do it right the first time. But to back up to your first point is that having the economic model in place, like knowing your numbers, 99% of clients that we take on, in terms of helping them, is helping them wrap their head around their numbers and knowing the model. You can't hire a listing agent when you're only doing 200,000 GCI from listings. Like you've got to be doing 400,000 or 500,000 GCI from listings to bring someone on to take over the listings at 20 to 22%. So your margins have to be dialed in. So when I first got out of it, I was just so happy to be out of production. I didn't even care what happened on the appointments. I didn't. There was not a whole lot of training. The process wasn't dialed in like it should have been. I finally lifted my head up out of just being happy. So in 4 months, I think my first listing partner had been on 105 appointments, and he only listed 30. And it was the first time I really even looked at his numbers because I was just happy not to do it. And so that was a big awakening. So he turned out not to be the right guy. So that he stayed on my team for 4 years, but he wasn't he wasn't my true replacement. So we hired a second one her conversion ended up being, closer to 70 to 75% and getting top commissions, getting transaction fees and all that good stuff. So it was a bit of a people issue, but also a process issue. My encouragement around it, if you're at the point where you're considering getting out of production, is to make sure your splits are correct. We call them value-based commission splits, where make sure you're paying agents based on the value they bring to the transaction, not whatever industry standard, quote unquote, there might be, to make sure there's margin left, for you as the owner. And then make sure you have a system built out where, it's kind of like by the time my first true replacement left the team, we brought a buyer agent over and the system was truly dialed in. She was able to sell 110 homes her first year as a listing agent on my team. And it was like, I think at that point it was like 90% team generated business and the system was dialed in. So she was like the surgeon that would wash her hands and come in with her hands ready to go. And, they would give her the folder and the equity evaluation and off she went. And she would just close the business and then service it. So that's the encouragement. Make sure you have your numbers right, the model right, and make sure that it is really a system that you just plug a person into and they don't have to be this masterful salesperson.
Yeah, so I want to talk to you real quick about compensation models, and then I got a bunch of system questions after that. So, because the traditional real estate team that we've seen for, the last 20 years or so, it's literally like their teammates covered their expenses, so then anything they sold was pure profit. Now, we've seen this new evolution, if you will, of true entrepreneur team leaders like you and I in the last decade or so. That's kind of a first that we've seen that. So yeah, it totally is a different compensation structure than we've ever seen before. What are some of the recommendations that you have to structure that right, so people can be profitable when they step out of production?
Yeah. And this is the one thing, if I were to pick anything when it comes to this industry that I'm most passionate about, it's this one thing. It's the fact that this is messed up on every team. I met a guy in San Diego County, does 200 million in volume. And I kind of know all the right questions to ask to figure out if that statement you led with about his money being made on his production, the only money he makes is on his production. And his production was only 25 million, which is great. That's a solid agent. 25 million of the 200 million was his production, and the 175 million covers his overhead. And he's got a big overhead. He's independent. He's building a new facility. That's just the wrong model. That guy's stuck in production forever. Like, what's the point? Go down to a licensed assistant, and you'll be more profitable and not have the headaches of a team and accountability and agents not showing up and like all the drama that we put up with. So it's thinking about the business ahead of building it. How much is what's your worth in the market? That's kind of what I think when I'm sitting down with a buyer agent that they weren't just born into that chair and now they're getting their first job. I look at that person like, are you a $40,000 person? Are you an $80,000 person? Or are you a $120,000 person? Like, what's your worth? Like, what have you been able to garner in the market, the general employment market? And some people are like $40,000 people that get into real estate and all of a sudden they think they're a six-figure person. And I just don't think employment markets work that way. So, I mean, buyer agents are generally, a good buyer agent is worth 30 to 50 bucks an hour. A good listing agent is probably 50 to 75 bucks an hour. And that's just my belief, and it's proved to be true. And if you can keep them productive and you can just structure the accountability, it pretty much proves out. And then there's a bunch of lower level. There's work we have done for, $4 or $5 an hour on our team. And then there's a bunch of core 12 to 15 to 20 to 25. I mean, so it's kind of blowing up the job of real estate agent into all these different jobs, but just having an awareness of what the model needs to look like. So when I tell people that, we'll do 4 million, not quite 4 million, but let's use round numbers, 4 million top line, how much drops to gross margin? How much do you pay your agents to cover expenses? So we're at 33% payout. And people are like, wait, so how much production do you do of that to keep that? I'm like, that's with no margin. That's not with me doing any production. We sold in our market more than a 1.5 million is a big deal. I had 2 SOI referrals, one at 1.7, one at 1.5, and a listing partner did both of them. They both sold in less than a week. I came on the appointment and helped them price it. But I'm not going to do any production. So even with giving every single deal away on my team, we're paying out 33%. But my agents are making more money than 95% of people in the market because we've got the system and structure in place. And when you talk to anybody, like any conversation you have with a team leader, their margins are pretty much flipped. They're probably, if you take their production out of it, their gross margins are probably somewhere 30 to 40%. Because they start at 50-50, they go to 70 to 80, giving to the agent if they do SOI, and then some people have 60 on team leads and then 90 on SOI, and you're just dead, So it's giving it some thought. I mean, general rules of thumb are think about the compensation, think about how much you're paying your agents. That's your biggest expense. 10 to 12% to marketing, 10 to 12% to staff, and then anywhere from 10 to 15, 18% for overhead. And if you follow that model, like in any market, I'll be able to make money because I'm following a very disciplined model, and I hold every expense accountable in marketing and advertising. And we have a tracker that we use to make sure that we're making money on everything we spend.
Yep, I love it, man. So earlier you talked about a transaction fee. I was sitting down. I don't know if you know Jeff Cohn in this business, but he's a good buddy of mine. And last year we were breaking down our numbers. Like we did the identical production. We both did about 80 million, about 1.92 million in commissions. But he well over doubled my net profits, and it's because they have these, they're doing buyer and seller transaction fees, which can be massive. That was a big eye opener to me. I'm like, what the hell, right? So talk about that, man. What does that look like in your organization? Then the biggest limiting belief I think agents have with those is, God, how do I sell it? How would I get my clients to agree to something like that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's always, I'll probably mess up the quote, but price is only an issue in the absence of value. So, it's one of those things that I think it's a total mindset game. As you grow a team and as you bring on expenses, you're adding more value than the traditional agent. So if you're a traditional agent, you're selling one home every other month and you go in and try to ask for an admin fee, it's going to be tough. But even if you're a solo agent and you outsource your transactions, you should be selling that as the benefit. Charge $495 to cover a $300 outsourced closing coordinator. So at least there's a rationale behind it. And so we have, and it's not, so the legal disclaimer, not that I even know that there needs to be one, but it doesn't apply to every market. Some markets you can't do transaction fees. You got to call them additional commission. All of that stuff aside, we call ours a transaction processing and audit compliance fee. So it's just putting some words around it. I mean, it's because the reality is that we're processing the transaction. We have a person responsible for doing that, and we have a second person that's making sure that file is buttoned up, and that if anyone comes in, that all parties recover, and it is audit proof. If the state comes in, it's going to be. So I think some languaging, and part of it's marketing, part of it's real. but some languaging around it and not stuttering on it. So it's in our paperwork, just saying, and as part of your closing costs, you'll there's a $695 transaction processing audit compliance fee. It's only paid upon successful closing. And if you see any properties that are on the market, FSBOs, so it's going over it and then going to the next thing and saying, oh, so if you're cool with this, remember there's a cancellation guarantee, go ahead and sign there. Great. And it's literally going over it and not hesitating. And we have agents on my team. We have a sort of a convoluted payout on transaction fees, but we have agents getting 90% collection transaction fees and agents getting 25, 30%. And the only difference is mindset.
So then with your transaction fees, do those 100% go to you as the team leader in the team? And then if they don't pay it, I see other teams that then still charge it from the agent, from their portion of their splits.
Yeah, so my journey on transaction fees is none that I would recommend. So I'll start with saying that. The advice I give my coaching clients is different than what I'll tell you that we do. There should be pain associated with the agent not collecting it. But there should also be a lot of training and support with getting it. Like most people aren't gonna, especially traditional agents. Newer agents are sort of fearless. They don't know if it's good or bad or indifferent to collect it. We do a quarterly payout on our transaction fees collected on closings if our agents hit 80% success rate on them. So if they have 10 closings in a quarter and they collect 8 transaction fees, we'll pay them on those transaction fees according to their split. And if they get 7 out of 10, they don't get paid on anything. So I don't advise doing it that way. That's just the way that we do it. But it takes a lot of training to support it. And you have to legitimately do more than an agent that you're competing against. So it's not a junk fee. And it's also, so here's the thing. If you present it in your paperwork and half the people will just sign the paperwork and agree to it, if you do it with authority, half of the other half will say, hey, what's that $695 for again? I don't remember that when we sold a home or bought a home last time. Well, that's just like a normal closing cost. I know what you're thinking, that it's like a car dealer junk fee. It is not a junk fee. Tia Wilson sits in our office. She closes your file. Jessica makes sure that it's going to be audit-proof. So it's 100% covers that part of the transaction, which other agents do not have. And then, so half of the half just go for it. And then the other half you have to decide if you want to lose the business or not. So it's just having the confidence to go for it and know that you're worth it. And you have to be worth it.
Yeah. Well, and on the buy side, it seems to be easier to be able to get, because a lot of times you can get the seller to cover it and include it in their closing costs, and it's a fee that can be passed off. So I want to talk to you about your systems, man, because you and I both are massive fans of the E-Myth Revisited. It's like businesses are processes and marketing. Systems ensure those things happen. Right? Like, I don't care how great your people are, if you don't have the systems in place for them to follow, they can never show you their greatness. And this is something where all agents seem to go wrong. They don't have a systematic process that can be duplicated and create a predictable business. So walk us through that. I mean, how important are systems inside your organization, and how do you get started? How did you get started personally? How do you recommend your coaching clients to get started?
Yeah, so I mean, it really is. I think this is another mindset issue. I mean, if you really, the one takeaway from E-Myth, it's the three people living inside of you: technician, manager, entrepreneur. The other biggest takeaway is the E-Myth question, right? If you have to build your business as if you're going to roll out 10,000 just like it across the country. Even if you'll never open up a second operation, you have to build it as if you're going to open 10,000 just like it. And just, if you were to write that out, you're listening to this podcast, and if you were to write that out, how would I build my business if I had to roll out 10,000 just like it and post it up at your computer? You will think about everything in your business differently. So just starting with that one thing, that's the biggest takeaway as far as systems goes. And a lot of people that are attracted to real estate aren't the systems people. But that if you're good at real estate, let's say you're selling 35 to 40 homes, you're in the grind of real estate, but 35 to 40 homes or 25 to 30 homes or even 20 homes in most markets, you're way above average. But you haven't taken the step to systemize what you do so you can bring someone in to run it for you. Even in admin, you can go from 35 to 100 homes just by documenting the special sauce and having an admin run 75% of what you do on a daily basis, so you can do the 25% 4 times as much. And so it's not a complicated equation to get to 100 transactions. We had a coaching client come in who did 130 sides this year with an assistant. Yeah. And she's got the systems down. She needs help on the recruiting and kind of going beyond that. And she's been at that level for 3-4 years now. But it's every little thing. So there are big systems. There's their recruiting system, right? How are you going to fill a pipeline of buyer agents and screen them, and like what's the 8-step process for that? What's the agent onboarding process? Like when you take a new agent, like, and you make this promise to them to this extraordinary career on your team, what's the process in their first 90 days to get them ramped up? When you're what's your system for your just the rhythm in your team, the team cadence? How do you close your books every month? How do you track your marketing ROI? I mean, there's probably 36 systems that we use in Real Estate B School that help agents. I think the biggest disconnect is that a typical real estate agents, their brain is not wired to think systems. I'm that weird. I have like a DC personality, so I'm a hard driver. I'm going to get shit done. But I've also got I can stay in a spreadsheet for 8 hours. And I love it. Like I literally was on a plane. We're redesigning our business tracker for Real Estate B School, and I was on a plane 4.5 hours. I was in Excel, just having a couple glasses of wine, and I was like in heaven. But agents aren't like that. 99% of agents cannot look at a spreadsheet or think about putting action plans. Even a basic program like Top Producer. Everyone loves to hate Top Producer, but it works. Like, anything that you can come up, if I want a lead treated this way, write down the 12 things you want to happen to a lead every time they come in, a series of emails or phone calls or direct mail or postcards or text or whatever you can think of. And that's a system, it's just, I think people overcomplicate it, and it's just overwhelming that they don't know where to start. And it really just comes, if you organize your business in a certain way and you kind of see where your weaknesses are, that's the place to start. And there's just a lot of systems. Like we say, there are systems that just cause pain right now. So if there's like a lot of painful things that happen every time we take a new listing, the seller's pissed because they don't, there's not communication in the first 7 days. So create a checklist, put that checklist in Top Producer, and make sure everything happens the same way. Make sure they get a call from your client care person the day that you take the listing. Make sure that the photographer calls in the next day. Make sure, so make every little thing you can think of a system, because you're going to have to repeat it a lot of times in order to be successful. So I think it starts with mindset, and then just start with the pain systems, and then we build on the growth systems. And then like some of the pain that we're going through now it's kind of like what got us here isn't going to get us there. So if we want to do, 4,000 sides, which is our goal in Charlotte, it's not going to be the same system that got us to 400 or 500 sides. So that's like sort of a growth, which most people don't have to worry about that right now. But it's what brings you the most pain now. Put a system around it and hire someone in the Philippines at $4 or $5 an hour to run the system.
Yep. Well, and the cool thing is too is and this didn't exist. When I got licensed in 2005, dude. I mean, YouTube didn't exist, Facebook didn't exist. There wasn't guys like you out there with these great programs that I can go sign up for next to nothing and get all of these systems and not have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think realtors get, hey, if I go do Lars's program, what that would cost them to go out there and rebuild that. It would cost them millions to figure this stuff out, if they're ever able to figure it out. So the cool thing is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So what led you to your coaching, what you're doing now in the coaching? Because you still got your team. I mean, what created that urge or that desire to go into the coaching space as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it was a couple of things. I know how much pain I've suffered to build the team that I have today. I mean, it's been painful. I've made every mistake you could make multiple times, and I genuinely don't want people to make those same mistakes. And I got coached a lot by a lot of the coaches in the industry, and I still made all the mistakes. So I think it's a combination of those two things. I don't want people to feel the pain, and I have nothing bad to say about anyone I paid money to in the real estate space or outside, because I got something from everyone I was involved with. But I was coached by a lot of people, and I still made all the mistakes. So I don't think anyone, and this is what sort of formed Real Estate B School, is nobody really does business coaching for real estate agents, and that's what it is. It's I don't know a lot of traditional real estate agents that know how to run a business. And so our sweet spot client is not someone that is new to real estate that I got to teach how to work with buyers and sellers. It's someone that has figured out real estate, but they totally suck at business and systems. And so, and just having a business background, and when I was in that acquisitions and strategy job, my job was to go visit with these companies, anywhere from $2 million company to $25 million company, and rip them apart and figure out in terms of their sales processes, their marketing processes, their operations, financial. I mean, I was the guy that sort of led the specialist teams that would kind of just rip companies apart. So I had hundreds of companies that I had looked at in that way. So I think that was the foundation that I was able to bring into this. And that's what I love about the coaching, is that I can look at someone's business. I can see the future for them, because I know now that if you follow this path, it's not going to be as painful as it was for me. And one thing I do that most coaches don't, I don't pump people up. I give them reality, and I say, hey, listen, if you go down this path, if you do what I know is going to give you pain, I'm trying to save you that pain. And it's a lot of it's on people, and people and the tracking, is the two things, and the operations. It's the not as sexy stuff. It's the backstage stuff. We kind of talk front stage and backstage. Front stage is sales and marketing. Everyone's super attracted to that. It's the squirrels and the shiny objects that people get. Entrepreneurs love that stuff, because we have that like chemical reaction in our brains, like, oh, a new website, a new web platform, like let's do that this month. And we're never patient enough. And it's the operations, the finance, and the people side of it that we don't want to figure out. And just knowing that there's to the E-Myth part of it, that you really got to become a manager. It's not in most people's natural existence to develop the skills of a manager. And a manager is different than a leader, but you gotta be the technician, elevate to the manager, and then become the leader, and then you're actually an entrepreneur. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And like you, I mean, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars being coached as well, and it's like your coach is on the phone. Oh, you need to start tracking better. But okay, well, what does that even mean? And now, like, I'm not an Excel guy. How the hell do I figure this out compared to going to a guy like, here's a program like yours. Hey, you need to be tracking. Here's exactly what tracking. And hey, we're going to give you the forms to do it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, dude. I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. So where would, if those of, we have a ton of realtors that obviously listen to this show. If they want to learn more about Real Estate B School, where's the best place to go learn about it? And I know you've talked about what's included in there. Is it one-on-one? Is it group? Kind of give us a little bit more of an idea there, and the best place to go. Again, learn more about it, sign up for it.
Yeah, so it's real simple. So there's no hard sell. You're a fit or you're not a fit, and it's really agents that have learned real estate. And they're when I created the business, it was someone who is experiencing the pain of real estate. And the pain of real estate comes when you're selling more homes than everyone in your market. Everyone's looking at you as the leader in production, and you have this miserable life. Your children don't see you. Your wife is pissed at you because you're not engaging as a father and a spouse, and your health is failing. And so that's who we're looking for. Someone that has figured out real estate, but they don't have no margin in their life. So we can come in, build in the systems, give you some relief in terms of margin. Just go to realestatebschool.com and just look around on the site, and there's plenty of places to just request a free coaching session. And it's going to be valuable if you're fit or not. But we really only want to talk to people that really want to build a business, and our mission is to help real estate agents build a highly profitable business through the use of, here's the thing, sustainable systems, empowered people, so that you can systematically increase your net worth and your time away from the office. So there's kind of 4 things that we are passionate about. It's sustainable systems run by empowered people, and the whole point of doing it is so you have more time and money freedom. And that's the true promise of Real Estate B School, is that there's a better way to do it. And the cool thing about our industry is that we're protected by all these little monopolies. All these MLSs are protecting our fees for the most part. I don't see it changing anytime soon. The cycle always gets rid of the discounters, which is great. So we always embrace a shift. So it's an awesome time to get your business sort of set up like a true business, especially going into a shift. I mean, there's no better time. Like, I wish I had Real Estate B School, 8 years ago when I did this, because I would have saved. So every mistake I've made, I've incorporated into, and it's set up really, really interesting. We set up the business with 6 drivers: roadmap, marketing, sales, operations, finance, and people. And there's 5 tools per driver. So there's 30 tools that we teach in Real Estate B School. We built a platform that is second to none in the industry, and in my opinion will change the way real estate is done.
Yep, I love it, man. I love it. So what's cool about it is, now you built this a massive, amazing real estate company that allows you to get in these other ventures, and you're teaching realtors how to do the same. But it's when people see these uber successful entrepreneurs that are involved in 5-6 businesses, that's what it takes, right? Being able to create those right systems, that right team, and allow you to do that. So I love it, man. Do you ever, being a dude, because this happens to me at times, you've got your real estate team, your real estate love, and you got all these other ventures that you're in. Do you ever see yourself being pulled or attracted more to one than the other? And in the future, do you see yourself going more on one path?
Yeah, man, this is an interesting question, because I'm a man of faith, and I'm really being challenged in this area right now. I feel like God is challenging me to make a decision on where my biggest impact is going to be. I love owning a real estate business, but I'm not as passionate about that business. Yeah. But then on the coaching side, I can literally speak into someone's life and have a direct impact, like right there on the spot. Like, I had a coaching call where I said, why do you own that cabin? That cabin costs you, this is a real conversation, costs you like $3,000 a month. Why do you have loans on your cars? That's costing you $1,500 per month. You've got $4,500 a month wrapped up. You don't go to the cabin except twice a year, you told me. You've got like $100,000 of equity there. Sell the cabin, pay off the cars, pay off your dad, buy your kid a car, bank 30, like real conversations. And people don't think about it. Like, they just kind of go through life and don't think. So I'm really attracted to that part of it. I think I have this other passion around just how men sort of exist in the world today. And the fact that I think our world is kind of broken in a lot of ways, how we're living our lives and like the impact. This is a good example. This podcast, I don't know your subscriber base, but you're doing something here. You're bringing value to the world where I think most men are just living completely passive lives. They're not having upfront conversations with anybody. They're not talking about real stuff at all, ever. And so I'm kind of drawn to that as well. But it's the coaching space, because the ripple effect, I think, is huge in what you're doing with this podcast and what any coaching organization is doing, if it's set up the right way for the right reason and just not for profit.
Yeah, love it, man. No, you're right, man. We've experienced I always call it the pussification of the modern male. We've experienced it. Everybody's just a sheep. We've got all these beta males and just not. It's sad to see, right? So then going back to you personally, man, because we find out there that good becomes the worst enemy to greatness for the masses, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the good enough. You could literally just be easily coast on your real estate team and still live an epic life and just kind of chill. What keeps you personally not accepting good enough, always leveling up and striving for greatness?
Yeah, that's a deep question. It comes from something way deeper that would take a therapy session to probably unpack. But like on a practical level, I think I was put here to impact people. Like, I see that more clearly now that I have this coaching business, and that's really what gets me going. And it's a balance, because I've got a wife and I've got a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and this business and being an entrepreneur is my vice. It is the thing that I could be there present with my children, but I'll think something about business. I'll have dreams about my businesses. So it becomes this thing that it can become overwhelming. But I think it's just I was given the ability to do this, and I think to do anything less than what like the true potential is, I think is just a waste of a life. I mean, I see the impact, and I don't know what the next step is for me either. But I feel like if just taking men, for example, if we could just speak truth, and just encourage and, just be a little bit more bold in like asking other questions besides like sports or golf or like whatever crap we numb ourselves with. I think that's where it's at, man. So I really give you credit for, what you're doing here. And, and my one encouragement is that entrepreneurs, I mean, it's an addiction, so it's, you got to really temper how much time, not just physical time, but how much mental rack space is taken up, with your entrepreneurial addiction, I call it.
Yeah, no, it is, man. It becomes this obsession, and so many people look at it from the outside world. They look at it as like greed, but it's like, man, it's not about that. It's for whatever reason, like the professional athlete never gets criticized. They're following their dream even though they're working 100 hours a week at it. But if your obsession, your life's passion is entrepreneurship, you get criticized and you're greedy, and people, it's just not socially acceptable.
Yeah, and it's a good point because I have I run the business. I mean, we have necessary endings with people, and I would say 90% of the time, I just hear through the grapevine, or someone says, "Hey, she said this about you," or that you're so greedy, or it's profit over people, and it's like that's not like I'm the most generous guy. Like an agent leaves my team, and I let them pick 10 clients that they could just take with them. And I always pay them all their commissions, even though their agreement says something different. And I think people just don't like people that get after it, because this is like the 10% of the 1%. Like true entrepreneurs that are going to get after it and actually get stuff done is a very rare breed. And you can't even get affected. Like I dropped my Remax franchise in December, and one of my boardroom members, which is my higher level of coaching, he just boxed me yesterday saying he met an agent in my market who said Remax, there's a big thing with me and Remax, and they kicked me out. And I'm just like, it's not even like remotely like the truth, but people just like to make shit up. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and just all the stuff I hear is just crazy. But you can't be affected by it. You just got to know you're doing the right thing. You're living in integrity, and entrepreneurs want to make a big dent, and it's there's nothing. I don't think it's ever like I have this vision of like retiring when I'm 55, and I'm 43 now, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to turn this off at 55. It's just not possible. But it's like it's in my plan to do it. just with wealth building and whatever. But it's all good.
Yeah, love it, man. So I know you're a dude that is all, massively about personal growth. Right? So walk us through what your personal self-development looks like. Is that daily? Is it weekly? And along with that, because these are kind of a collide, do you have a daily routine that you follow that really puts you at your best self to go execute at the highest level?
Yeah, I mean, it's and this is probably the biggest. And what did I say was the number side of it was big, but just the ability to, like, if you're going to play at this level, like if you're going to go from a producer to business owner, let's pick real estate, for example. I mean, you're going to have to do things differently. It's not rolling into the office at 9:30. Your day has to start with a 5 in front of it. Like, I don't see that there's a way you could possibly get after it as an entrepreneur without getting up at 5 o'clock. And I think that's just the reality. I wasn't a morning person, but once you commit to that, I mean, you've got a couple hours there to do what you need to do in the morning to set yourself right, whether it's with God, whether it's stretching and hydration, getting something healthy in your body, getting your blood moving, cardio, weight training. You've got to knock that stuff out, spend some time with the family, sort of fill your love tank, and then go about your day. So you've already you got to take care of your physical body first. That to me was the biggest shift for me. Probably when I went to my first Tony Robbins event, Unleash the Power Within. I became a vegetarian for a year. Because it flipped the whole. Working out and taking care of myself was the thing that it was the easiest thing for me to drop off, because I just said I didn't have time for it. But once you, that's your oxygen mask. If the plane is going down, you grab your mask first. So I would say just that morning routine, whatever it looks like, don't complicate it. There's some systems out there that make it so complicated, like doing this 6 or 7 things in the right order. And, just know that you have to have some quiet time, whether it's prayer or meditation, some quiet time, some activating your body through a rebounder or stretching or rolling. And then you've got to hydrate, because you just lost all your hydration at night. Put a big green drink into your body. I do supplements. I do some nootropics type things, and then get to the gym. And then you've got to have my wife. We're really aligned on this, and you've got to be aligned with your spouse on it. Like, I don't think one spouse can sleep in late and eat crap, and the other one trying to take care of themselves physically. And then just knowing that. So in real estate, that 8 to 11 o'clock, what you do in that time frame that's your whole career. Whether you're solo or whether you build a team, building that culture of new business development for 3 hours a day, you will not have a successful career in real estate if you don't commit to that. And probably extending it to 4 to 5 hours per day when the market shifts. The first 6 to 12 months of this coming shift, it's going to be painful. I haven't been through, I guess I went through a shift, but it was shifting when I already got into it. But there's so many agents that are going to be scratching for the few deals that you've got to up your game on new business development and be just relentless about that time. And then if you can handle 5 o'clock to noon, like you structure that, your 12 to 6 every day is going to be filled with appointments and making money. And then get home at 6 o'clock. Just make a commitment to not work past 6 o'clock, 6:30 if at worst case, and commit to that Monday through Friday. And when I was in the grind, I had 2 days a week where I was allowed to take late appointments. Saturdays I did a 9, 11, and a 1 listing appointment, and then Sundays I had off. So make structure your days, and then just be completely committed to it. And the encouragement around all of that is have a big why around it. You've got to have a big why. 2 things for me. My dad, who is part of that whole therapy, I could have gone into why I'm driven. Drank actively until I was 15. Had a major stroke 6 years ago. Died a year ago. It's easier for me to get out of bed at 5 in the morning when I think of him. So we had this like really brutal. Not brutal, but just wasn't a good relationship even when he passed away. So I can think of him, and I can look at my kids and I'm like, I got to get my ass out of bed and not eat like a pig today and do all these things and work out so I can not be my dad. So I think again, it all comes down to mindset. If you knew you were going to die this afternoon if you didn't work out this morning, I guarantee you'd work out every morning. But people don't make it a priority until it's really a priority when they get sick.
Yep, love it, man. Couldn't agree more, dude. So if you could go back now, knowing what you know today, and give yourself, when you were starting off in this business, like just 2 pieces of advice, right? Or you could change 2 things, essentially, when you first got started, what would those 2 things be?
Oh, man, that is an awesome question. 2 things. I think that they're almost related. I wish I would have began the study of leadership way earlier. It's really in the last couple years that I know that leadership, and you can learn it. It's a learned thing. I never really thought that was the next level for me, true leadership skills. So I wish I would have sort of realized that sooner. And then when I look back at all the people that I've led into my world, and the buyer agents or staff or any of the people issues that I've suffered, it's because I really didn't figure out what my true core values were. I don't think people give that any thought. Who do I want to surround myself with, and then only let those people into my world. I think if I knew that, it would have been it's the first thing we teach people on the key driver of people is the core values developer. So we actually go through a process who do you want to let into your world? Like, what are the 5 characteristics of someone that you want to sit next to and teach them how to do real estate? And then just leadership, the ability to do real estate, to lead at a high level. Tracking and quantifying, I think all that stuff's really important. I've sort of increased that every year. The system we have now and that we coach our clients to is really robust in terms of knowing everything that goes on in your business. I guess I'm on my 4th thing, but culture of prospecting. If don't let people into your world that aren't going to generate business. It's your first buyer agent hire is out of desperation, and you don't want to work with buyers anymore. So you hand off all your buyers to them. They are totally spoiled. They're entitled, and then they're not earning their keep. So I hire 4 buyer agents at once when you're ready to step out of buyers and make them prospect and do the things. And so that's probably 4 things, but that's what comes to mind.
So you've dropped some amazing books on overall entrepreneurship, marketing. Do you have any that have been really impactful, that have helped you become the leader that you are right now, that are leadership specific, that you recommend?
Yeah, I'm going to say one that's not leadership specific because I just read it and I think it's a newer book. Have you read the book Fanatical Prospecting?
Mm-mm.
It might be like a new book, but it is. It's awesome. It's by a guy Jeb Blount. Highly recommend that. It comes on CD. It's on Audible. My team goes through it now. It's required reading for all my coaching clients and team members. That's an awesome book. On leadership, anything by Patrick Lencioni. I mean, he's just solid. All of his stuff is like super easy. It's all written by Fables. 5 Dysfunctions, Extraordinary Executive, the Getting Naked. Anything by him is really good. How to Be a Great Boss by Gino Wickman is exceptional as well. And then all of this stuff by, what's his name? 21 Laws of Leadership, John Maxwell. Yeah, his stuff is top notch. And we go through in my boardroom level, we go through his training around the 21 laws. And the cool thing about him is that it's all teachable. It's just an awareness, and it's just shining a light on something that's probably a dark spot for most people. And it's not this big thing like, I wasn't born a leader, like natural. There are natural born charismatic people, but it doesn't mean that if they were born a leader, there's a way to learn it. So the Maxwell stuff is really, really practical as well.
Yep, love it, man. Awesome. So, I started this podcast, dude, because like you, right, you're out there paying all these coaches, going to all these conferences, and this doesn't just apply to real estate, it's every space, but there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, right? Like I've met a lot of real estate agents that do over $1 million a year GCI that are on these stages that can't pay their taxes at the end of the year, and then you're like, wait, like I've been following so many of the wrong people. So I wanted to create a space where we went out there and interviewed the doers. Guys like yourself, dude, that there's no smoke, there's no mirrors, this isn't theory. You're in the trenches, you're doing it, you're building it, and you're coaching on actual true strategy. So that being said, those that are watching this show right now are here to be able to learn to go out there and create the life they know they want and deserve. Do you have any last words of inspiration, advice, motivation that you'd like to leave them with so they can go out there and do that?
I mean, that's the advice right there, is that I want to make sure I come back to it. So don't chase squirrels, go deep, not wide. And what you just said, it's so easy. That $200 million guy that I was talking about is a good example. The guy essentially makes no money, so don't know the questions. There's probably 5 or 6 questions that you need to ask anybody that you're taking advice from in the space. If they're running a team, a good example, I had a conversation with, she had just come off the stage at Riz Media and like a big NAR event. She is on Apple's website and she runs a real estate team, and she uses technology at a high level in her real estate team. I asked her 2 questions and I was done talking to her, and she is like literally on Apple's website and literally on stage in front of 10,000 people. I asked her, what's your top line GCI for your team? I asked her, how much are you paying your agents, and what's your overhead marketing spend? She was at 73% cost of sale. So she would take in a $100 commission check and she would pay out $73. She had 27% left to cover her expenses, pay the government, and pay herself. She was making no money, but her offices had brick and glass conference rooms and iPads everywhere. And, so it's just knowing the questions to ask. If anyone says that this lead, or you see an ad online for listing 27 FSBOs in a month, what's the reality? Like, how many appointments did that person set? How many did they meet? How many did they sign? How much money did they spend? Do some quick calculations to know if a person's full of shit or not. That's number one. And then there's so many squirrels, that you could chase in the industry. You need a basic CRM. You need, stick with one buyer lead gen platform. Go deep on referral and database marketing. Don't switch things all the time. The loss of momentum to switch things because we're marketed to, and then just go deep, not wide. We run basically 5 or 6 things still in my real estate company. One of the guys that I work with in Real Estate B School, he's a coach. He did 3 things to get to 200 sides. Just 3 things. And everyone I talk to that's at 50 sides are doing a dozen things. And so that's the advice. And just know that what you spend has to make you money. If you're spending $1, you got to make $10. And people think if you spend $1, you make $2, that you're doing good, and you're not.
Yeah, I love it. Powerful advice, man. So it's so true. Success isn't doing 1,000 things; it's doing a few things brilliantly, thousands of times, and master them. So couldn't agree more. And those of you that are watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, you guys, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, applying it, taking action on it, creates power in your world. Dude, Lars just shared so much amazing information with you guys. Take something you learned today, go out there and take action on it so you can create the life you know you want and deserve. And you guys, right below this interview here is going to be links to Lars's websites, to his coaching platform. Go out there, check it out. Highly recommend it. This guy's the real deal, right? So make sure that you're learning from the right people. So critical. Lars, man, this has been a great time, dude. Massive honor to have you on the show, brother. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been good. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you guys, we will see you next time.